from being registered as doctors as long as they get through the ERPM examination. Now, if you look at the ERPM examination and the results and the performance of various candidates sitting there, we see that over the years, the performance of those who are sitting the exam with poor A-level results or no A-level results have been poor. We plan to publish the results of the ERPM also this year once we finish the current round of ERPM examinations, and I will deal with that in a little while. So my message for those parents as well as students who are aspiring to enter the field of medicine is that while there are minimum standards defined, it is desirable that the minimum entry, that you try to aspire for higher standards than what is specified in those minimum entry criteria. Because after all, the public of this country want the best of the best to be treating them. And as such, they would expect the minimum, they would expect those entering the field of medicine to be the top students of this country. And that is something that we should keep in mind. Then moving on to, if you, get through that hurdle of the criteria, entry criteria, which medical school should you select? Now, the standards of medical schools, again, is defined in the Gazette notification, which is on our website. You can download that Gazette notification, which clearly spells out the amount of clinical training hours, and so on, that should be, that a doctor practicing in Sri Lanka should have undergone training during their undergraduate days. So it would be very clear to you if you look at the Gazette, what that training hours should be. You can, of course, go and obtain the details of whatever school you want to go from that school itself. And you can make a comparison of the program that is available there in that school's student handbook or brochure or curriculum material which is provided, whether the program that is offered in those universities match the expectations of Sri Lanka, the Sri Lankan law. So if it is not, then you can yourself make a decision on whether to go to that school or not. We in the Sri Lanka Medical Council in the past have had a process of recognizing these medical schools through a evaluation process. Now that process has been modified to meet with the minimum standards, the hours specified in the minimum standards, and so on. So therefore, you can be assured that whatever assessment that we make in the future will match those hours that are specified in those standards. So in the past, there have been certain universities that have been recognized, and if you go to our website, the period of recognition of those universities are clearly mentioned, And sometimes when the universities offer more than one program, we have clearly mentioned which program we have recognized as well. Moving on to, so traditionally, you would appreciate there are certain universities which have been providing scholarships to Sri Lankan students and so on. So in the past, there were universities historically starting from the 1970s, especially in the former USSR, that was offering scholarships. And Sri Lanka has benefited from those programs. However, when we looked at some of those programs, there are deficiencies. And so we've highlighted those, and we are working with those universities and we to overcome those deficiencies. We have indicated those in our website, and we will work with those universities to make sure that we will work with those universities to ensure that they fulfill our minimum standards, so that we will continue to recognize their students. I think that is a historic obligation that we have to those countries who have extended a friendly hand to Sri Lanka over the years, and we will ensure to work with the governments of Sri Lanka as well as those countries to ensure that we continue to have those friendly relationships with those countries, and they as well as us benefit from those relationships. However, in terms of transparency and telling you, in terms of transparency and telling you what our stand is, we have put that information on our website. Then now, we've also in the Sri Lanka Medical Council taken certain decisions to broad-base the recognition process. So to do that, we have taken certain decisions. Now, for example, parents ask us, I want to send our child to Oxford or Cambridge, but it is not recognized by the Sri Lanka Medical Council. We are in the process of taking those steps to recognize those universities, and in the coming months you will see that process being done, and we will see a wider range of universities being recognized. That would be good for all of you, because then you have a wider choice, and it is not dependent on the students having to make initiate a process of recognizing the universities that they had to go to in the past. So we need to really make sure that that we do that, go through that process. Then, of course, the other issue is the issue of what do you do with universities which are deficient and which have deficiencies in terms of the minimum standards. So the deficiencies that we encounter are deficiencies in things like the training in forensic medicine, deficiencies in training in community medicine, deficiencies in training in psychiatry, deficiencies in training in pediatrics, and so on. So we've identified those deficiencies, and we will work with the universities where we have identified those deficiencies, to rectify them and bring about mechanisms where students who are deficient in those training is provided that training. Now, you have to ensure, you have to see, you have to recognize that the Sri Lanka Medical Council cannot provide training for people. We are a regulatory body. We can't provide training for people. So therefore, we cannot take on that role. So we will not be doing training or undertaking training for anyone. That is not something that we can do. However, we will work with universities, and we will work with universities and other institutions to ensure that the deficiencies are overcome. Now, a question that has been asked over and over again is the fact about internship training for students who are unable to do that training in China. Now, as I told you, the Sri Lanka Medical Council is not a organization that provides training for anyone. So we can't organize training programs. It is up to the institutions to make arrangements to ensure that their students are provided the training. And if there is any deviation to the original plan that has been approved by the Sri Lanka Medical Council, it is up to those people, those universities, to reach out to us and get their revised plan approved by the Sri Lanka Medical Council. So we are open to their suggestions. We have written to all the medical schools, informing them that if they have made any change to their training program, to inform us and get that approved. And if anyone writes to us, we will then do that. We will consider them. We will review them, and we will give the necessary approvals. So it is up to those institutions which have taken on the responsibility of training those students in their institutions to work with the regulatory agencies of different countries. So if they reach out to us, we will work with them. But so far, none of those universities in China has reached out to us. We have written to them, telling them to reach out to us if there is any change to their training program, and none of them have reached out to us. I gather that there are more than 1,000 students teaching in those, and it is the responsibility of the institution who has taken on your training you to respond to the emails that we have sent to them to get back to us with deviations to the program, so that we can consider and approve them. Okay, and then of course, in this pandemic time, that brings up a very important question. When you are selecting a university, you may have to ensure that you are taking on and making payments to a university in a place where you can actually go and travel easily, travel without restrictions, and so on. So I think it is up to you to make sure that you make correct selections in terms of the destination of these medical schools. There are various travel restrictions. We have seen some students in certain countries where their entire medical school has been destroyed due to war. So it's important for you to think, okay, are there such threats in those countries that you are selecting? There are some countries where there are, restrictions in terms of travel, not because of COVID, due to other reasons as well. So therefore, it's up to you to decide whether, inquire and find out whether there are such restrictions. And I was telling some of the parents who were reaching out to me, I think the safety of the children going to these faraway places is much more important than one day becoming a doctor. Because if you are to, be in a situation where your life is danger, you may be critically wounded, or some such thing happens, that's a far worse situation than not getting a medical degree. So therefore, you have to make sure that you are traveling to a safe destination. And that is something that should be paramount on your considerations as well. So these are some of the broad areas that I wanted to deal with you today. So the bottom line is, because of the enactment of the minimum standards legislation, now we have done away with issuing an eligibility certificate. The eligibility certificate anyway had no force in law. There was no legal, it was not a legally approved instrument, and lots of people who went abroad without the eligibility certificate were coming here and getting registered. So it wasn't, it was not a enforceable regulation for the Sri Lanka Medical Council. Okay, so so what you have to make sure is that you are going to a university which has you're going. First of all, you must make sure your A-level qualification fulfills the minimum standards, and the university that you are going to provides training as per the minimum standards. So you can obtain the training program, details of the training program of the university yourself, and compare it with the minimum standards. Because in the future, even some of these universities which are in our recognized list may become non-eligible when they come for review, because we will be matching them with the minimum standards. Okay, so therefore, please make sure that those criteria are fulfilled. So the other things that I told you were to complement the picture of what was conveyed to us. So let me try to see whether we can take up some of the questions that have come up on the chat. Lots of questions. So you all have asked about a removal of universities from the recognized list. Very simple. If you go to the minimum standard document, the minimum standard documents are there. And then we have two applications, application 1 and application 2. And in that, the universities have clearly told us they are training, the details of the training program. So we have compared the details of the training program with the minimum standards and then made a decision. So that is simply how we made. So someone has asked, this is a recurring question that I've addressed earlier. Can I complete part of my training in Sri Lanka? My answer to that question is, if your university is providing training for you in Sri Lanka, then the university should write to us and inform us whether that training program that they have worked out in Sri Lanka is acceptable to the Sri Lanka Medical Council. Sri Lanka Medical Council cannot organize any training program for any student in Sri Lanka. It's up to the institution that hired you to do that. So you have to sort that out with your medical school. Okay. So questions regarding the ERPM. The ERPM will continue to be conducted and will be the basis on which the eligibility to practice in Sri Lanka will be determined, and the ERPM we are ensuring that it is conducted expeditiously, even under the COVID situation. You know, we conducted them, and Part B is starting next week, and it will be completed. And then after that, the future exams will also be streamlined and conducted in an expeditious way, so that the difficulties that you encountered in the past will not happen. Somebody has asked, what are the minimum standards? Minimum standards are in the Gazette, which is on our website. You can download it and take a look at it. I'm not answering some questions where, you know, such as decision questions are asked about why was this changed from that and so on. It is there's no point answering those questions, because we have to discuss what is the standard now, right? So I'm not going to answer questions related to why something was changed from one to another and things like that. So the Sri Lankan universities will be following the minimum standard guidelines, right? So there is no question about it. Those standards apply to the Sri Lankan universities as well. I appreciate some of the comments regarding, the issues that have been brought about by the quota system, and I sympathize with the student who had put those comments there. And we would all like, all of us in the field of medicine and in the Sri Lanka Medical Council would like if all the admissions to the medical schools in Sri Lanka are completely merit-based. But we have no say over that. That is a political decision. So you have to, so the students coming from faraway places have to talk with their politicians and say, okay, our district, all the medical school entry should be on merit. So that is a decision that has to be taken to your, representatives in the areas and negotiated. Unfortunately, we can't do anything about it because it is the decision is taken by the elected representatives in Parliament. So we are 100%, I think all of us would agree that we should recognize merit, and only the top students in the country should come to Sri Lanka. But because of this district quota system, we know that some students in faraway places do not get to come because of this reason. And rather than faraway places, I think it's mainly the districts like Colombo, where students with high marks are unable to enter a medical school. So you must understand, I know there are some questions that have been put here, frustration about inability to complete your program. I can tell you my own past. I had to wait 3 years to enter medical school after, completing my my A-levels from 1987 to 1990. So we all have gone through, all the members in the council, we have gone through these same, issues in our lives as well, our professional lives as well. But we cannot, provide training to your children. We are not a training organization. The fact that your children are not being accepted by their university is a matter that you have to take up with them, and you are very well, I accept the frustrations, and you can, of course, when you sign with them, I'm sure you have legal contracts with those universities, and you should take appropriate action based on that. And I'm sure if you do that, take those actions, then they will let your children in and to do the programs. So it is not something that we can address. So all the entire process of review and what we have approved is on our website. So that is transparency. So it is there. I see a person by the name of Jonathan Sheena, hurling insults at us. So you are not suitable to enter the medical profession if that is the way you behave. Jonathan, yes, I see a question about offers from universities which are not in the SLMC list. So that is why I said that we are going to recognize a wide array of universities very soon. So I think some of the universities from UK that you have put will be among those. So you have good news coming up in the future. You will have good news coming up in the future. Yeah, someone has said about Oxford and Cambridge needing recognition by the SLMC. That is true. You know, you have to understand that if you are an Oxford graduate with no training in forensic medicine and you come to Sri Lanka and you are posted in the Hiyattakandiya and your medical responsibility says that you have to do a post-mortem, then you are completely unable to perform that. So we have to recognize people who can practice in the Sri Lankan setting. So Oxford or Cambridge degree does not equip you to perform the basic medical duties that you may have to perform in the Hiyattakandiya or, Kilinochchi, somewhere far away in the country. So our obligation is towards the people of this country, okay? And that is the same way that the General Medical Council of the UK looks at this. Because we are in constant touch with the General Medical Council. We get emails of Sri Lankan students, Sri Lankan doctors who have gone to UK and unable to practice. Same story. When it comes to people trained there and coming down here. So our obligation is the safety and the welfare of the Sri Lankan public. So about scholarships given by Higher Education Ministry to students, we have clearly told the University Grants Commission that to ensure that the universities to which they are giving scholarships should have the minimum standards. And in the future, they will not. In the past, they may have given, but in the future, they may not. The Sri Lanka Medical Council does not promote any scholarship. We have no mandate for that also. So if you are going on a scholarship, it is up to you, right? Sri Lanka, nobody has ever asked us approval for any scholarship program. So as I told you, this law is not applicable retrospectively. This is applicable from the 10th of April this year, right? So we can't do anything about what has happened in the past. Somebody has asked why all these changes suddenly. They are not sudden changes. as you can see, if you go to the Gazette, the Gazettes were gazetted 2 years ago. The dates are there, known to the public, and they were only enacted by Parliament. They were debated in Parliament on 3rd of November last year, and approved by Parliament unanimously by all the parliamentarians. And the fact that it was approved by Parliament was gazetted on the 10th of April this year. So on that date, these laws came into existence, okay? Came into being. So that is the date. That's how it came about. Yes, the universities, can always work with us and approach us directly, and we are very happy to work with the universities to help them identify their deficiencies of training of Sri Lankan students, so that they can even make special arrangements for Sri Lankan students. So those are all pursued. I'm not going to answer the questions about specific approvals, right? Because they are going through the process. I can tell you Sri Lanka Medical Council has no problem about payment, right? We are a very well-funded organization. So we don't, just because somebody pays for a processing fee, we don't recognize universities and de-recognize universities. There's nothing like that. So the person by the name of Binura, you are misunderstood, or you have been, so Binura, we are not like that. We do a proper job of it. So why is the timing today? Some people are asking that question. The reason is, as you know, we had the minimum standards that been approved, and then we had to go through a process of putting into the council and so on. So we took these decisions in the council meeting that was held on last Friday, and so that is the reason why the council gave me the approval to clarify this standard, the stand with everybody who are asking us various questions via phone and email last Friday. So that is why the timing today, right? So the ERPM, as you know, we have had various challenges in the past, but we are streamlining things, and some lots of steps to ensure that they are conducted in a proper manner, a timely manner, conducted in a timely manner. Not it's all been conducted in proper manner, but it's a timely manner. So we will ensure that that is done. Okay. And I must inform you that we have also taken a decision that once this the current round of examinations are over, we will be carrying out a survey of all the graduates, medical graduates in Sri Lanka who are waiting to sit the ERPM, and we will be registering them and making sure that the examinations are conducted in a manner that all of them go through the exams very fast and expeditiously without having to wait. As I told you, there are lots of questions about the eligibility certificate. That's not necessary. So look at your qualification, look at and ensure that the university is meets minimum standards. As I told you about Sri Lankan medical schools, the University Grants Commission is taking steps to ensure that the minimum standards are met and maintained. We have written to all the, Delaney, you are mistaken. We have written to all the universities, informing them of the minimum standards and everything. We don't, because it's a headache to us when people don't write. You can imagine for us to go through this is a headache. So we want everybody to be. So why have we put information about the correct, now I think today if you go to the website, the correct status of all the universities for the first time is there on the website. People are asking me, can I go to a university which is under evaluation? Well, the outcome of the evaluation, I can't tell you. That's done by an independent panel of people. So you need to decide whether you are, so if you decide to go to a university under evaluation and the outcome of that evaluation comes negative, then you have taken a risk. there are questions about exams. Again, your university has to write to us and get approval for their changed format. We have written to all of this in all the universities, and as I told you, no one has responded to us. There are some questions about Pakistani scholarships. As far as I'm aware, there is no undertaking or assurance given by the Sri Lanka Medical Council to the Ministry of Higher Education about recognition. I would like to be fair by the students. I will verify this. If any students are there in Pakistan, please write to the registrar at mc.lk, and we will look into those, the recognition status of those. And as I told you, we are a regulator, but we'll be a fair regulator, right? We will not discriminate against Sri Lankans. Okay, so we will, if there is an issue with these Pakistani scholarships, we will work with the relevant authorities and sort out that issue. So the Sri Lanka Medical Council has in the past experienced some delays in reviewing renewal applications, but we are now doing it very fast. So in the past, in the future, this category of under evaluation and so on, we hope will go away. So again, these things happen because some of these universities wait till their recognition has expired to submit their renewal application, or they wait till the last month for processing. So that's up to them. I think it is also the responsibility of the universities. I think there are lots of universities whose recognition period had expired and they have admitted students. So it is the responsibility of the universities whose recognition period had, expired to have had some discussions with us before they admitted students. So the recognition process will take about 6 months, and it depends on how fast they respond to us. So there are, if you go to the website of the foreign degrees, the recognition process is clearly defined and listed. So it's a 2-stage process. If we get information fast from them, we will process them fast. If there is a delay, then it will take time. So usually what we have seen is there's a big delay between responding after we finish the first stage and inform them, getting the second application, it takes a very long time. So that is some of the reason why these universities are still under evaluation. Nuwan Samarasinghe, again, you have heard some insult at us. That is that amounts to professional misconduct. And you are not suitable to be a doctor. Not be taken by the Sri Lanka Medical Council. That has to be taken at a higher level, and the ministry. But it is for us, we can only tell you that we have evaluated and found that it doesn't meet the minimum criteria, and we have pointed that out. And also, as I told you earlier, I told you where the issues are: forensic medicine, community medicine, psychiatry, pediatrics, and so on. And we will work with those universities to give solutions to them. Okay. At the university, the vice chancellors, the deans, and those people have to get in touch with us. But as I told you, so far nobody has got in touch with us. So there is something about withholding recognition for non-payment of renewal fees. No, nobody has been de-recognized for non-payment of renewal fees. This is about Bangladesh universities. And in fact, I can tell you the Bangladesh High Commissioner meets with us, has been meeting with us several times, and he has been very supportive towards the review process that we are conducting. And he has gone back to Bangladesh, talked with the Bangladesh universities, and informed the Bangladesh universities about our review process. And he has met me several times to iron out issues. Okay. So the universities know about our review process. In fact, as you know, the Prime Minister went to Bangladesh recently, and when he went, we gave a document which was distributed to all the Bangladeshi Higher Education Ministry and to the through our High Commission and so on. So they are well aware, and they are very much directly in communication with us through the Bangladeshi High Commission. Okay. So some of these universities that students are studying may have been recognized at the time that they the students went to those universities. So that is fine. At the time you entered the university, it was recognized. And now their recognition period may have expired and may have been recognized. But at the time of entry to that university, if the university was recognized by us, then there are no issues. Okay. I think that is a misunderstanding, at least by one person. The 5-year period is that we recognize for 5 years chunks, right? That doesn't affect the when you got the degree and so on, right? So someone has got the degree in October 2019. You don't need that 5-year period of recognition is not something applicable to the ERPM. Okay, so don't worry about that. That's the recognition period of the university. Somebody is asking, this person named student who is asking various questions, is asking why do we charge for the ERPM? Because the government does not pay for the ERPM, conducting the ERPM examination, right? So you have to pay the examiners. It's conducted with enormous difficulty. I can tell you, they have to go out of the way to do this, with all the other work they are having. Please put the questions on the chat, right? We won't unmute. So if any student has paid for the eligibility certificate and we have not processed it and issued, those monies will be refunded. Okay. If anyone has any questions about going to medical schools without A-levels, I recommend that you write to the registrar of the medical council at registrar.mc.lk. I will not answer those questions here. Okay. Everybody has said replace all of these with 1-year training program in Sri Lanka. Oh. Then there's no point going for medical training, right? There's so many questions. How many questions are there? Start repetitions. There's most are repetitions, but I'm going through this because there are at different times different interesting questions come. This is a good question that has been asked directly from me. Can I go to another country like England and US straight after my degree and do my postgraduate there and come here to Sri Lanka and practice? So there are Sri Lankan doctors who went abroad, did their postgraduate training, and were trying to come back to Sri Lanka. We were in the past unable to register them as specialists, but the good news is from last month, we are able to do that. So the first batch of specialists, Sri Lankan doctors, who have gone abroad and got their specialist qualifications and come back, we have given them, certified them as specialists. So that was the first batch of 8 doctors. The second thing is somebody may be going abroad and doing the first degree and getting the specialist qualification abroad and coming back. There's a deficiency in our law, and we are trying to get that corrected. And when we get that corrected, we will be able to give them registration as well. So, so in the future, hopefully pretty soon, because there are doctors like that waiting for registration, when the deficiency in the law is corrected, you'll be able to recognize specialists, okay, who have got their first degree as well as a specialist degree abroad. Currently, without any issue, going through the process, those who have got the first degree in Sri Lanka and got a specialist degree abroad can be recognized as specialists. So I think when I look at some of the questions, I find that students may not understand how to set the ERPM. So what you have to do is, once you return back with your degree, then you have to register and get your degree approved by the SLMC. There's a process for that. You can look at the process, the forms and everything are there on the website. And that is how you become eligible to sit the ERPM examination. So for you all in the future, we will be looking at two things. One is that you have the minimum A-level qualifications at the time you went abroad. This minimum A-level qualifications may even change in the future. You know, we may get a more higher level qualification or some such thing, because actually when this gazette came into being, the recommendation from medical schools was that this should be 4Bs, right? It was recommendation was higher, not two Cs and a S. Yeah. It was 4Bs, if I remember right. But then we went to Parliament, and the Parliament said, no, it has to be lower than that. And that's how it became two Cs and a S. But in the future, it may become more, but it will apply from that date that the decision is made, right? So the only two things that you have to make sure at the time of leaving is that your school is, you have the two Cs and the S in one sitting, and that you've got the university you are going to is recognized by Sri Lanka Medical Council at the time you are leaving. Okay, that's what you need to do. Lots of questions again on the same topic. Eligibility certificate. Forget about the eligibility certificate. If you have the A-level qualifications and you are going to a recognized university, you will be able to come back to Sri Lanka and practice. Okay? I can't give you a guarantee about universities which are under evaluation at the present time. You have to accept that. I can't give you a guarantee about universities which are under evaluation. All those who have gone to Pakistan on this scholarship, who have mentioned us, please write to us individually or as a group. We will deal with your issue separately. So there's a question, if you are doing postgraduate studies abroad, are there special postgraduate universities that we are only eligible to study from? No. You have to give details of the program, postgraduate training that you have had, and that will be sent to Postgraduate Institute of Medicine, where the board, there are specialist board there, they will evaluate and tell whether the qualification that you have got is equal to the qualification that in Sri Lanka to be a specialist, and they will, once they approve it, we register them. There were a couple of comments saying the university has written, Lahiru Rajika has written, saying your university has written to us. I can assure you that no university has written to us. Registrar of the council is here in front of me. Dr. Apugoda, you have not got no correspondence from any university about changing their program. No. Number of house officers taken, we can't do that. That's the Ministry of Health. We don't determine the number of house officers in a given batch. Okay. So I see some comments about, getting a provisional. Some students have said they have got a provisional registration, provisional graduation for full graduation certificate after completing an internship. So then clearly your training is deficient. It doesn't meet the minimum standards. So if you did not have any clinicals before your before you got your provisional registration, provisional certificate, then that means that your training did not have any clinical. So how can you become a doctor without clinical training? And the clinical training hours that are required are in the minimum standard gazette notification. So you don't have to wait for the SLMC to evaluate this. You can take a copy of the gazette, compare with the number of hours that you did, and then it will be very clear to you whether your university provided you the required training or not. When you do that, you won't have anything to ask from us because it's very clear, and you can make your own judgment. Okay? About exams, online exams, and so on, because it's a complex subject. When you say online exam, it can take various forms. So we really don't know what you really mean by online exam. So. I think the person who is repeatedly saying unmute, unmute, why don't you please write your question so that he has written unmute more than 100 times. Will the questions clear? Same question is whatever. So again, what is important is the recognition at the time of entry to the medical school, not now if you have got your degree some time ago.